Japan, an island nation with a rich and complex history, has been shaped by centuries of cultural evolution, political upheaval, and technological advancement. Japan's history begins in the prehistoric era with the Jomon period, dating from around 14,000 BC to 300 BC. The Jomon people were primarily hunter-gatherers who developed a unique culture, characterized by pottery with distinctive code markings. These early inhabitants lived in pit dwellings and developed complex societal structures, evidenced by their intricate pottery, jewelry, and tools. Around 300 BC, the Yōyō period began, marked by the introduction of rice agriculture, metallurgy, and weaving techniques, possibly brought by migrants from the Korean peninsula. This period saw the rise of more organized and stratified societies, with a focus on farming and the establishment of permanent settlements. The Yōyō people were the ancestors of the modern Japanese, and their culture laid the foundation for Japan's future development. By 250 CE, 538 CE, the Kofun period followed, named after the large burial mounds, Kofun, that were constructed for the ruling elite. These mounds, some of which were massive and keyhole-shaped, signified the increasing power and influence of the leaders during this time. It was during this period that the Yamato clan rose to prominence, eventually unifying much of Japan under its rule. The Yamato rulers established the foundations of the Japanese imperial lineage, claiming descent from the sun goddess Amaterasu, a mythological figure central to Japan's Shinto beliefs. This period marked the beginning of the Japanese imperial system, which, despite various changes, has persisted for over a millennium. The Asuka period, 538 CE, 710 CE, was a transformative era in Japanese history, marked by the introduction of Buddhism from Korea and China. The establishment of Buddhism led to the creation of Japan's first centralized government, as the Yamato rulers sought to align themselves with this powerful new belief system. The Noro period, 710 CE, 794 CE, saw the establishment of Japan's first permanent capital at Nara, modeled after the Chinese capital of Choman. During this time, Japan began to adopt various aspects of Chinese culture, including writing, architecture, and government administration. The Kojiki and Nihon Shoki, the oldest surviving chronicles of Japan, were compiled during this period, providing a written record of Japan's early history and mythology. The Heian period, 794 CE, 1185 CE, is often considered the golden age of classical Japanese culture. The capital was moved to Heian-kyo, modern-day Kyoto, where the imperial court flourished, and a distinctive Japanese culture began to emerge, distinct from Chinese influences. This era is famous for its literature, particularly The Tale of Genji by Morosuke Shikibu, considered the world's first novel. The Heian period also saw the development of the kana syllabary, which made writing in Japanese more accessible. Aristocratic culture thrived, with a focus on poetry, art, and the refinement of manners. However, this cultural prosperity masked the growing power of the provincial warrior class, which would soon come to dominate Japan. As the Heian period waned, the power of the central government weakened, leading to the rise of the samurai class. These warriors, originally employed by noble families to protect their lands, began to amass power and influence. The Genpei War, 1180 to 1185, between the Taira and Minamoto clans marked the end of the Heian period and the beginning of the Kamakura shogunate, 1185 to 1333. Minamoto no Yoritomo emerged victorious and established the first shogunate, a military government that ruled Japan in the emperor's name but held real power. This period marked the beginning of feudal Japan, where the samurai became the ruling class, and the emperor's rule became largely ceremonial. The Muromachi period, 1336 to 1573, was characterized by both cultural development and political instability. The Ashikaga shogunate, established by Ashikaga Takauji, struggled to maintain control, leading to the outbreak of the Anen War of 1467 to 1477. This conflict marked the beginning of the Sengoku period, or the Warring States period, a time of almost constant military conflict among rival warlords. Despite the turmoil, the Muromachi period also saw the flourishing of Japanese culture, including the development of tea ceremony, no theater, and the Zen-inspired rock gardens. Kyoto, despite being frequently ravaged by war, remained the cultural heart of Japan. The Sengoku period, 1467 to 1603, was one of the most chaotic and violent times in Japanese history. Powerful regional lords, or daimyo, vied for control over territories, leading to widespread conflict and shifting alliances. During this time, three key figures emerged who would eventually bring about the unification of Japan. A ruthless and ambitious warlord, Nobunaga began the process of unification by defeating rival daimyo and consolidating power in central Japan. His use of firearms, introduced by Portuguese traders, revolutionized warfare in Japan. Nobunaga's general, Hideyoshi, continued his work after Nobunaga's assassination, eventually unifying most of Japan under his control by 1590. He implemented land surveys and a rigid class structure, solidifying the power of the samurai. After Hideyoshi's death, Ieyasu emerged as the most powerful daimyo. He defeated his rivals at the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, paving the way for the establishment of the Tokugawa shogunate in 1603, which would rule Japan for over 250 years. The Edo period, 1603 to 1868, was marked by relative peace and stability under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate. Tokugawa Ieyasu and his successors established a strict social hierarchy, with the samurai at the top, followed by farmers, artisans, and merchants. The emperor remained a symbolic figurehead, while the shogun held actual power. To maintain control, the Tokugawa shogunate implemented a policy of sokoku, or national isolation, which severely restricted foreign trade and interaction. Only the Dutch and Chinese were allowed limited trade through the port of Nagasaki. This isolation allowed Japan to develop a unique culture relatively free from external influence, but it also meant that Japan lagged behind in technological advancements. Despite the strict social order and isolationist policies, the Edo period was a time of significant cultural development. The urbanization of Japan led to the rise of a vibrant merchant class and the development of cities such as Edo, now Tokyo. The period saw the flourishing of ukiyo-e woodblock prints, kabuki theater, and haiku poetry. Education became more widespread, and literacy rates among the common people rose. The merchant class, though technically at the bottom of the social hierarchy, became increasingly influential, contributing to a flourishing economy and culture. In 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry of the United States arrived in Japan with a fleet of black ships, demanding that Japan open its ports to American trade. The first opening of Japan marked the beginning of the end for the Tokugawa shogunate, which was unable to resist the pressure from Western powers. The signing of unequal treaties with Western nations, combined with internal dissatisfaction, led to the fall of the Tokugawa shogunate in 1868 and the restoration of the emperor to power, an event known as the Meiji Restoration. The Meiji Restoration, 1868, marked a turning point in Japanese history. The emperor, now restored to power, embarked on a series of reforms aimed at modernizing Japan and transforming it into a world power. The new government abolished the feudal system, established a centralized government, and adopted Western technologies and institutions. Japan rapidly industrialized, building factories, railways, and modern military forces. The education system was reformed to produce a literate and skilled workforce, and the legal system was overhauled. By the end of the Meiji period, 1912, Japan had transformed from a feudal society into a modern industrial nation. This rapid modernization was accompanied by the adoption of Western customs and ideas, but Japan also retained many aspects of its traditional culture, leading to a unique blend of East and West. With its new industrial and military might, Japan began to assert itself on the international stage. The victories in the First Sino-Japanese War, 1894 to 1895, and the Russo-Japanese War, 1904 to 1905, demonstrated Japan's growing power and marked its emergence as the dominant force in East Asia. The Treaty of Portsmouth, which ended the Russo-Japanese War, recognized Japan's control over Korea and southern Manchuria, establishing Japan as a formidable imperial power. During this period, Japan also began to establish its colonial empire, taking control of Taiwan, Korea, and parts of China. This expansionist policy was driven by a desire for resources and strategic influence, as well as a sense of national pride and destiny. The Taisho period, 1912 to 1926, saw continued modernization and westernization, but also increasing political instability. The Taisho emperor was physically and mentally weak, leading to a power vacuum that allowed the military and right-wing nationalists to gain influence. This period was marked by the growth of democratic movements, but also by the rise of militarism and ultranationalism. The early Showa period, 1926 to 1945, saw Japan's political and social climate become increasingly militarized. The Great Depression of the 1930s exacerbated economic difficulties, leading to increased support for aggressive expansion as a solution. The invasion of Manchuria in 1931 and the subsequent creation of the puppet state of Manchukuo marked the beginning of Japan's aggressive expansionism in Asia. Japan's expansionist policies in Asia, particularly its invasion of China in 1937, set the stage for conflict with Western powers. The invasion of China was brutal, with atrocities such as the Nanking Massacre causing international condemnation. However, Japan continued its expansion, seeking to secure resources and strategic positions throughout Asia and the Pacific. In 1940, Japan signed the Tripartite Pact with Germany and Italy, aligning itself with the Axis powers. As tensions with the United States and other Western powers grew, Japan made the fateful decision to attack Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, bringing the United States into World War II. This act marked the beginning of the Pacific War, a brutal conflict that would lead to immense suffering for Japan and its neighbors. The Pacific War was a devastating conflict for Japan. Initially, Japan achieved a series of stunning victories, rapidly expanding its empire across Southeast Asia and the Pacific. However, as the war dragged on, the tide turned against Japan. The Battle of Midway in 1942 marked a significant turning point, with Japan losing key aircraft carriers and its ability to conduct offensive operations. The war took a heavy toll on Japan's population and infrastructure. Cities were bombed, and the Japanese military suffered heavy losses. Despite this, the Japanese government continued to resist surrender, even as the situation became increasingly desperate. In August 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, causing unprecedented damages. The bombings, combined with the Soviet Union's declaration of war on Japan, forced the Japanese government to surrender. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender, bringing World War II to an end. The war left Japan devastated, with millions dead, cities in ruins, and the economy in shambles. The atomic bombings had a profound impact on Japan's national psyche, contributing to a strong post-war commitment to pacifism. Following Japan's surrender, the country was occupied by Allied forces, led by the United States, from 1945 to 1952. The occupation aimed to demilitarize and democratize Japan, transforming it from a militaristic empire into a peaceful, democratic nation. The Japanese constitution, drafted during the occupation, included a clause renouncing war and forbidding Japan from maintaining a military for offensive purposes. The occupation authorities also implemented economic reforms, including land redistribution and labor rights, which helped lay the foundation for Japan's post-war economic recovery. The war crimes trials, held in Tokyo, brought many of Japan's wartime leaders to justice, although the emperor was not prosecuted. After the devastation of World War II, Japan's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. With the help of American aid, particularly through the Marshall Plan, Japan rebuilt its infrastructure and modernized its industries. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953, also provided an economic boost, as Japan became a key supplier to the United Nations forces. During the 1950s and 1960s, Japan experienced rapid economic growth, becoming one of the world's largest economies by the 1970s. This period, often referred to as the Japanese economic miracle, was characterized by high productivity, technological innovation, and export-oriented industrialization. Companies like Toyota, Sony, and Honda became global leaders in their respective industries. The post-war period also saw significant social and cultural changes in Japan. The rapid urbanization and economic growth led to the rise of a consumer society, with new lifestyles and values emerging. Traditional gender roles began to shift, with women increasingly participating in the workforce and education. Japanese culture, particularly in the areas of fashion, entertainment, and technology, began to influence the world. The global popularity of Japanese products, from electronics to cars, was accompanied by an increasing interest in Japanese pop culture, including anime, manga, and video games. In the 1980s, Japan's economy continued to grow, but by the end of the decade, it had developed into a speculative bubble, particularly in real estate and stock markets. When the bubble burst in the early 1990s, Japan entered a period of economic stagnation known as the lost decade. This period of slow growth and deflation lasted well into the 2000s, forcing Japan to confront the challenges of an aging population and a changing global economy. Despite these challenges, Japan remains a major global economic and technological power. The country has continued to innovate in fields such as robotics, electronics, and automotive technology. Japan's culture, including its cuisine, fashion, and media, continues to have a significant global impact. However, Japan also faces significant challenges in the 21st century. The population is aging rapidly, leading to concerns about the sustainability of social services and economic growth. Japan's relations with its neighbors, particularly China and Korea, are complicated by historical grievances and territorial disputes. Today, Japan plays a vital role in the global community, both economically and diplomatically. It is a leading member of international organizations like the United Nations and the G7, and it has taken on a more proactive role in global affairs. Japan's commitment to peace, as enshrined in its constitution, continues to influence its foreign policy, particularly in the areas of international development and disaster relief. As Japan faces the uncertainties of the future, it continues to draw on its rich history and traditions to shape its path forward.